A warm welcome from the EIT Culture and Creativity. You just heard from the first speaker this glimpse in a potential future for your industry. And his presentation immediately raised the question, what is the future answer of Europe and in Europe for your industry if you look into this potential protectionism coming up? And exactly this is an initiative of the European Union some 2 years ago, which is going operational just in these last months. The EIT Culture and Creativity is, in a nutshell, a European institutional partnership dedicated to make your industry more sustainable, resilient, and competitive, even in those scenarios which were just raised. So what could be the future for your industry in terms of regulations? What could be a future in terms of financing, investment, and grant making? And the EIT, Culture and Creativity, is a new kid on the block, so to speak, a new financing tool, and we believe it's an innovative one. And that's what we want to introduce to you now. We are just starting. We have the first 50 million euros in grants and calls published. Some of them are closed already, some are still open. So you're just listening to this in time, and next year our funds will be growing, and then again, funding and grant opportunities are there. But before I take you into details, just one step back. Why has this been created? The European Institute for Innovation and Technology is like the European MIT. It has been created in many areas to address global challenges. While you're making pictures, you can all have those slides. I'm happy to share them later on. And to address global challenges in those very different areas, from raw materials, mobility to your sectors, is about an ecosystemic approach. It's not about the approach to help only one company, but to help the whole value chain, the industry as such. And that's why this tool might be so helpful when you're talking about protectionism and regulating a market as such. This ecosystem brings together business, research, public institutions, educations, and they all collaborate for long-term impact. In a nutshell, we're not only giving grants, but we are then also able to be a shareholder and a stakeholder in those companies which we support. And this 360-degree approach, from funding to being a long-term partnership, is really unique. You rarely find this with a venture capitalist or with a training program or with a business angel, of course not. So we're here to allow not only you as a company, but also, let's say, Fraunhofer, big research institutions, to reach aims which they cannot reach alone. We do this by a value proposition. We offer very new and unique elements in networking. Obviously, you have industry partnerships and sectors like for the games industry, you have Impala, and you have for the cultural sector, for the architects. Each has a sector association. But you don't find across all sectors, across 30 nations, a mix of researchers, businesses, and educators at arm's length so that you can collaborate to either access markets on a new level. We have regional offices which help you reach new markets, access to finance. We have financing tools and also networks of financing and investment partners which are pre-selected. And last but not least, because we have been created by the European Union, we have a special access also to policy to advise them what to do next. For example, there's still 1 billion euros left in funding for our sectors. Ours is not only media, but also cultural heritage, architecture. And just in those coming months, there are negotiations how to spend those. And we are one of those institutions which can help to have a say how those funds are to be spent. And to do some selling, if you are a partner of our partnership, you can also have a voice in this future framing of all those funds. So we all do this to help companies, but also universities, PhD students, startups, to scale and compete in global markets. So that's a global challenge. It's about the resilience of our sector. And last but not least, it's about the transition to a sustainable and responsible growth. We break this down into very specific target pictures. I will not take you into all those details now, but you see those buzzwords which you might know from European institutions. And we are well aware that there is a certain expectation coming with European funding of overregulation and being very administrative. Believe us, we try to work against this. Annette Schäfer, which you might know from this audience here, has been here for many years as our CEO. And I myself also have a background in the sector. So we're all keen to make our targets accessible, even though we are public funded. And you see here in audiovisual, it's very concretely helping the increase of products based on responsible and trustworthy technologies in your sector. This is a glimpse of the partners we have now. We started some 2 years ago. We have now about 70 partners. It's to be growing up to 300. We have an association and a digital platform. We have more like 1,000 now, which are not partners in the other sense, but they're associates. We are not only a European network, but we are a grounded network. We believe in the Silicon Valley effect, that when people meet in real around certain centers, you have new innovations sparking. You'll find these in Amsterdam, Barcelona, Bologna, Helsinki, Košice, and Vienna. By the way, those are not just branches, they're own legal entities. They can also invest in companies locally. So we're not only looking into this as headquarter, but potentially also with our 6 entities across Europe. Now, how do we do this in practice? And I just take you through on a headline level that you see. This is not just one offer, which is fitting all sizes, but it's really a detailed system fit to the needs of companies in the different stages. And of course also to the needs not only of companies, but of universities. As likely, here is no representative of university. Let me skip this. For entrepreneurs, it's about tools for incubation, acceleration, post-acceleration and innovation. I've been asked already if we also work with legacy and global companies, if they create spin-offs. Yes, we do. We also work with startups, with PhD students, but most of all, we would like to find and search for companies which have between 10 and 500 employees to help them grow on a global level. You find that the grants written here is something which are really subsidies. You don't have to pay them back. This is a lost payment from our side, but in return for those grants and services, we hope then later on to take equity and be then a venture partner, as you see at the very bottom line. Our first term sheet negotiations will be starting somewhere this autumn. We're just selecting the first 30 companies in July and being presented in Amsterdam, then in our regional center there. So you see, we're really at the very start and you're just looking behind the curtain what we are doing here. This is an overview of the programs we have for the individual innovator, if it's not about a company. And now, last but not least, you made it until this slide, which is really for you. What is in for the audiovisual market? So what are the global challenges we care about? When you knock at our door, what could you have, support, funding, training, equity for? It is really in the competition with global platforms. It is overcoming limitations in your investment capabilities if there's around content, emerging technologies, and IP protection. And I think the previous talker just showed how relevant this is. It's about the lack of capacity to implement and commercialize disruptive technologies. And last but not least, we support to overcome limitations in cross-collaborations between different sectors like film and gamification, especially when it's about audience data and the availability to these. We are collaborating with big data centers in Bologna and also in Barcelona to also allow computing alternatives to AWS. We support companies in business creation and we support them also in innovation. In the innovation field, we really look to support technologies which are really built on trustworthy principles. We are supporting the audience data collection. I don't know if you have heard for your sector, There is a data lake initiative with tens of millions collecting data on the audiovisual sector. For now, this is a silent lake. It is not being used to initiate new business models. So this is something which we want to spark. And obviously, it's about sparking new business models across various disruptive technologies. Now, I'm aware this was a heavy download and was a lot of details, but I hope I could make you so curious to have a look in our digital hub. You can get to know us free of charge, find new partners there, test it, also test our access to our investment opportunities. We will be having an investor day at Slush in autumn this year, but we also have at our regional hubs smaller investment meetings. So if you also take this QR code, you can find the webpage, log in. We have some more than 1,000 users now in the last months since our start in January. And yeah, I hope to welcome you also. Of course, also reach out personally to our directors for business creation. We have a director and team also for innovation to answer your specific questions. Now at the end, to summarize it, what is the unique selling point of this new tool? If you look at this big picture of the market being rearranged by protectionism and what could be a European support in this new framework, an ecosystemic approach, which is not only for your company but for the whole system. And this is the EIT, Culture and Creativity, taking single innovation projects, which are usually funded short-term for a year or two, into long-term partnerships to have impact. In short, innovation to impact. We do this by our value proposition. We do this by the special partnership across all sectors, reaching to universities and research programs. We do this by these dedicated programs where you can apply year by year with different cutoff dates. So this year has been really the first test year. And next year, also our funding will at least double, maybe even triple in size. We built this ecosystem with a matrix of services, which you find in our digital hub. So whenever you need a service, you don't need to turn to a different partner, but you have a one-time partner. It's like a one-stop shop for you. And last but not least, we are also interested to take shareholding in up to 50 companies in Europe in the next years. So with this, I have 2 minutes left and happy to donate this to my next speaker. Thank you for the attention.